I was just thinking of that old saying, judge not lest ye be judged yourself. And it always comes to mind when I think about judging other people. And I just thought it'd be a good topic. I just finished a day of work. I've actually still got these big old knee pads in here. I forgot. No wonder I'm uncomfortable. So I'll take them out. I wanted to talk a little bit about judgment of other people and how freeing it is when we learn not to judge. Now, when we're young, we judge naturally. Now, if you're one of those rare people out there who doesn't judge anyone and everyone's equal to you all the time and always has been, that's great. I mean, that's something, honestly, if there's anyone like that, I would aspire to be like that. We grow up in circumstances where it's not always a judgment based. When I say judgment, some people will go to race or think about judging people based on their gender or their sexual affiliation, because that's what's hot topic now. But judgment has always been, let's just say, much more nuanced than that. There are a lot of reasons why people judge others, everything from what you believe in or don't believe in, to the type of beer you drink or the kind of car you drive. And some of the things that we judge each other for are very petty. We see it all the time in media and politics and the way that people talk to one another. I think how can some people live their lives and deal with all of these little trivial nonsense slights, or where they feel like they've had their ego bruised or something. And usually that's because of judgment, the way somebody's judging someone else. And, a guy just ran by, and I thought, how funny, I caught myself being like, wow, what stupid shorts, And they were really stupid shorts, but, it was just some typical neighborhood dude jogging around. Good for him, right? But I caught myself right away, like, it's like the old, young teenage me come back. It's not that I have any spite or hate for anybody. It's just like an instant reaction and an acknowledgement of that reaction or that thought. And then kind of a laugh and, filing that away under, obviously, I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about him. Hell, maybe they're the only shorts he had clean. It doesn't matter. It wasn't really the shorts. It was just, people judge each other for some of the silliest things, but it's usually subconscious. And when it's subconscious, that's the scariest type. When you can't bring it to the surface and acknowledge it. See, over the years, I've learned how to manage not just how I see people, but how I see life, the world. As I've, said probably 100 times before, two things. First, we have a circle of control, and then a circle of concern, and then a circle of influence. It's one of the best lessons I've ever learned. The things that we can influence, we deal with, and we focus on those things. The circle of concern, things about like what's going on in the world or politics or war, it doesn't really matter. If it bothers you at all, and if you get emotionally invested in something you can't do anything about, it's already a waste of time. So we have to save the energy for the things that we can actually do something about, in my opinion. It doesn't mean we can't be aware or concerned or look once in a while, but you know what I'm saying. We've spent a lot of energy on things that don't matter, arguing on Twitter, whatever it might be, and very intelligent people, So it's just kind of built into who we are, It's like a baked-in human reaction to other people, especially when folks feel slighted, like if they feel like they're being attacked by any group of people, including just society in general. Let's say somebody who's famous, who does something stupid, and then all of a sudden they're on every paper, in every headline, and then instead of just taking it just with, kind of a face palm, they go and they react and do 10 times worse, in order to try to justify, their bad judgment. Kanye comes to mind right now. But still, people are people. And we always have to remember that. Every person. You know, when I catch myself judging some of the harshest criminals, that's when I put it to the test, you know, my tolerance and patience for people. I've had so much shit stolen from me over the years. I've just always had this thing against thieves. But I finally had this epiphany that, you know, it's up to me to take care of my stuff. If somebody steals something from me, you know, that sucks. But if I sit and focus on it all day long, it's not going to do me any good. All I can do is just be prepared. It's going to happen once in a while, right? We move on. So, but even then, I try not to judge a thief. There are plenty of thieves who are just complete losers, for sure, who, you know, don't want to do any real effort in life or work. But there are, you know, there are some thieves who I guess I could forgive, you know, just in moments of weakness or stupidity or drug-induced ignorance, which may not be forgivable to some, but I've seen enough people messed up on, you know, meth and other drugs to know that your brain's just not working all right, you know, and people stay up for days and they make bad decisions. I had a good friend of mine steal some very important family heirlooms from me, not just once, but twice, and another friend of mine too, and I forgave them both. Like, it took me a couple of years to realize life is so much better when we just let go. And when you let go, then you really stop judging, because you'll find that if you judge a certain category of people, it's usually because somebody's done that to you within somebody who was similar to one of these people, right? Maybe you're just hate a group because you're scared. You know, there's plenty of xenophobia too. But I'm not here to tell you why people think the way they think or believe what they believe or judge people. But I am going to say that letting go of our opinions and really asking more questions or just listening to what people say can be so much more revealing. And that sounds obvious, but it's something I've had to train myself to do. I'm a talker. I like to talk, you know? I mean, obviously, I have a YouTube channel and I talk about things in life. And I can also listen, you know, and have great conversations. But, you know, over the years, I found myself, you know, when I hear, well, we're often looking and just waiting to say the next thing, I'm like, do I do that? And I start doing a lot of self-analysis, self-insight. I want to know why I do the things I do. You know, I don't want to go through life with blinders on saying, oh, God, I did that my whole life. I was one of those guys, you know. And there are some things that I'm working on for sure. But, you know, I guess we live happier lives when we're self-aware. It doesn't matter, like I said, with judgment, as long as you're self-aware, you catch yourself and say, okay, do I really feel this way? That's the thing. So many people don't have an inner voice. And I don't like to generalize. I don't like to say, oh, people are stupid or a lot of society's ignorant. But from what I understand, and, you know, what I've learned about people, most people don't want to hear anything about themselves or any deeper truth about, you know, looking at themselves from a third-person view and actually following yourself around through the day and watching your own actions. To some people, that's completely foreign. I mean, it's something I learned about probably, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago when I really got into it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start being completely self-aware of everything I do. And naturally, you fall from grace, you forget, and you go on autopilot for a while, and then you're like, oh, okay, I got to start watching myself again. And that's what breathing techniques are all about. It's so funny because I actually used to get paranoid about, like, when I'd remember my breathing, I'd start thinking about it. And then it'd make me anxious because I'd think, am I breathing correctly? And then I'd hyperventilate. It was a weird thing. And then it would give me these string of thoughts. I'd think about my dad dying and all this stuff. And I'm like, at one point, I'm like, why am I letting my brain tell me how to perceive this? No, I'm going to make breath something good. You know, they say remembering your breath is one of the greatest things that you can do. And people strive to try to remember their breathing, but forget. That's what a lot of meditations are, you know, acknowledging the breath. They're like, your mind will wander. But I'm like, my mind wanders to breathing. So, okay, I'll make it something good. Every time I acknowledge my breath, I'll acknowledge myself and acknowledge my surroundings. Where am I at? Who am I with? How am I acting? Right action, right thinking. Kind of these Buddhist philosophies that, permeate every belief system. But anyway, those are my thoughts for the day. I'm going to get on the road now and get home because I'm tired and it's been a long day at work. So try not to judge. Acknowledge yourself when you do. And yeah, that's all we can do. Peace out.